Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The penultimate day of qualifier matches for Major 3 in Toronto and some big results going down this evening. Boston Breach, how have they done it again? Vegas, they brought a brand new roster to the table and somehow they still beat this Boston team. This roster has been getting roasted from all sides. SlasheR's come to the party as well, of course, former player on that franchise. He was waiting for this one, no doubt. Scrappy throwing a dagger in as well. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We should dive straight in. The blow it up bowl of this evening was Boston Breach versus the Las Vegas Legion. Boston 0-6. A shocking loss streak for these guys so far this stage. 8 losses in a row. Vegas, of course, at 5 losses in a row. 13 map loss streak for these guys. One of the streaks had 2 ends. Honestly, if it had been interesting if either of these teams played somebody else, wouldn't it? Just to see how that may have gone. But in the end, it was Vegas that took the dub. Pretty funny just to look at real quick the matching results for these guys. I mean, I guess to be fair, Vegas has been worse than Boston's technically, but it's L's across the board here, so somebody had to win. Vegas were on a shocking losing streak after going down in that Game 5 to Thieves a while ago. When they had Purge on the team, they got rid of him, they brought in a Seam. It didn't go especially well from there, obviously 0-12 map counts. That is going to be tough to replicate. So Johnny comes in. Interesting player Johnny. Of course, he was on the Vegas Legion before with Jimbo several years ago during that Vanguard season when they were still the Paris Legion. He comes in and does a stellar job today. He's been playing well in challenges lately, no doubt about had a good couple of stages of the Elite. Not a player that is like Purge necessarily on paper. You know, a faster paced player. He's going to be there to drop some damage and probably put some kills on the board. That is another, you know, it's a feature that Asim didn't necessarily have in his arsenal, certainly at this time of the year. And look at this guy go. 2 minutes 16 in hill time game 1. Legion snap their 13 map loss streak. And yeah, it's ugly, right? You can't make this stuff up. Boston, we talked, I mean, yesterday it's funny, right? Because Den's mentioned in that press release or whatever he did that, oh, they've got this respawn dominance going on Boston Breach. They're going to be incredibly difficult to stop. They've just got to work out their search and destroy. They come in against this Vegas team and they get slapped around game 1 on the ReeaL hardpoint. Not even especially close. And yeah, Priestahh double negative. Snoopy didn't have a great series today. I will say, Ben Beans, I find it interesting the narratives around Beans. I genuinely feel like if it wasn't for the dead meme, people would give Beans more credit than he gets. I think there's been a general feeling that, well, you know, Beans, he doesn't always make the right plays, which sure is true, but I think everyone who watches this guy knows that he's a legit shooter. He shoots straight, he drops loads of damage, and I'd love to see how Beans would fare on a better team, to be perfectly honest, and I wonder what Boston will do going forwards, because of the last few weeks, you might argue that the Snoopy experiment has paid off in some sense. Look, they got rid of Asim and SlasheR. I didn't think it was a good decision to get rid of certainly both of those guys. Certainly SlasheR at the time I was critical of. And to be fair, Beans replaced SlasheR and Beans is playing well. But I still don't think that was the right idea. Then again, those Snoopies played better the last couple of weeks. There is an argument to say that for the long term of the franchise, they've made an okay decision, but they've got to find a team that works better because Champs is chalked. I mean, there's just no doubt with the way that they're going now. They did, however, win a search and destroy. It's hilarious, isn't it, really, that they finally found a way to win a search here, and they dominated it. Johnny had a 1v3 opportunity here, by the way. He gets the first 2. Also, what are these guys doing? I mean, Beans goes down, then I think it's Pentagrxm who slides through, isn't it? He goes down as well, and then Johnny's at a 1 versus 1. Honestly, if Boston had have lost this round, you wouldn't put it past them, would you, to choke this one away? Johnny jumps out, thinks he's got the kill. He thought he had it. He stopped shooting. And then Snoopy gets the kill. They were laughing about it, Boston, because they knew they got away with one there. And Boston with a search and destroy to snap their 13 straight loss streak in that mode. This is funny from Octane. Nobody beats the Boston Breach in 14 straight search and destroys. The streak ends at 13. It was bad. The funny thing, of course, is that Boston, they would need another victory. And what were the odds of them getting 2 victories in search in one series? Not especially big, because Boston then went on to dispatch the Legion with a 3-0 control. You sometimes find, I thought it was interesting really with this Vegas team, because often it's the respawns when a team is brand new that work out better first, and the search and destroy kind of can come later. So I'm not really surprised that Vegas looks good in the respawns here, but maybe I am surprised they beat Boston in the way that they did in the hardpoints, because Boston have been good in their hardpoints over the last couple of weeks. But the control, this was very straightforward for the Boston boys. Then we go to a sub-base hardpoint where Vegas take a nice lead early on. Attach had a nice play at this point. It goes game 5. Boston made a nice comeback here, but they had too many streaks. Geo with a great map as well. There's been questions on Geo because he was playing very well in stage 2 when Purge was there. Then Purge was gone and he fell off. So the question was Purge really enabling enabling him, but the last couple of series, Geo's been turning up big time. So they take it to a game 5, and this is the problem, right? It's another 6-star search and destroy for Boston Breach. We've seen it before over the last few days, and we are going to see it again once again. I can't believe that these guys, not that they keep playing it, but they're just so bad, right? I mean, Pentagrxm has a bad start to this final game. Yes, he's the bomb carrier, so sometimes you're caught in bad spots. But, you know, it's interesting with Penta. There's players that drop bad numbers. And, you know, let's say Hixie or even maybe a Seam at some point in the season, this has been the case for when players that are enablers, right? They're happy to drop a 0.85, 0.9, but they will make the correct decisions. Like, if you've got a player on your team that is a 0.85, 0.9, but is making the correct decision every single time, always makes the correct call, always goes in the right spot, always takes the right route, that is your MVP, even if their numbers are low. And that's kind of the player that Hixie tries to be, and maybe was for Toronto last year. 0.85, 0.9, but impact was certainly there. Some players, 0.85, 0.9, but that isn't the case for. And when that's the case, they're just costing you effectively. And they was 4-4 this game 5 search and destroy, but yeah, again they lose. Nero deserves a lot of credit. He dropped this search and destroy kill record here. This is why this Vegas team is still scary. You know, Tatch, Geo, Nero, and now even arguably Johnny. They are players that can take over at basically any moment. Break's vivid search and destroy record this season was 60, and I think he might also hold the LAN record this season, Nero, for the most kills we've seen on LAN in search and destroy. Now he holds it online, and he was just roasting these guys and saying, yeah, they were just getting absolutely slammed, honestly. So, you know, the firepower is still there on Vegas. Kind of a fascinating setup to the Mage, really, the way that Thieves are looking. Vegas, maybe with Johnny, going to get somewhat better than they were with the Seam. They've won a series, you know, maybe they'd have won this one anyway with the Seam. It's tough to say, but arguably not. Just, you know, look, Pentagrxm's been going through it, but in the same way that a Seam was getting roasted hard, this guy's going to get roasted hard. I also do wonder, right, like if Boston make the call to remove Pentagrxm and go down a different route, what does he do, you know? Because he's been in challenges for years, grinding for this opportunity, and I think he deserved the chance, but it's not working out on a, you know, difficult spot. But I think that players that have what it takes, they will show more on a team like this, kind of like how Beans has done, you can argue. So, you know, people have been bringing up a couple of tweets in Pentagrxm over the last couple of years. It's not working out for him. Whether he's going to do a GodRx and call it a day, that remains to be seen. But I wanted to show a clip here from Scrappy because he was on Zoom as well. This is on Octane's stream. But he messaged Zoomer to say that he believes that Snoopy does a lot of snaking, which of course is G8, but they're so bad that it simply doesn't matter.
Wait, where's I mean, make sure I can say what he typed in text. I don't know if I can say this.
Oh, man. Can you tell Luigi I said happy birthday? Yeah, I got you, man. Bro, he's on 423 watch.
Okay, I'll just say it anyway because I don't give a fuck. He said Snoopy's been snaking, by the way. No one cares because they're ass. That's what he said.
Fuck yeah.
But the entire middle of the map,
let him snake and let him use EQ, bro. They need every fucking morsel of hope.
He's not snaking, bro. Snoopy just crouches up and down a lot.
In the league right now.
Pros are just like the fucking people in YouTube chat, bro. They get crouched one time, they're saying they're snaking.
Pros just fucking care.
Actually, no, Snoopy does that so much.
Yeah, he does.
Borders
online matches should be honest.
We know that Snoopy has been causing some controversy, shall we say, with this Boston Breach team for some time. SlasheR was not a big fan of his playstyle, shall we say. I don't really know if he does snake that much, to be perfectly honest. I think he may just do a lot of crouching and standing up and stuff like this. But yeah, I don't know. That's what Scrappy seems to believe. Then again, he is also kind of called into question GA's getting broken by other teams in the past, that maybe some of them have or have not been the case, like aBeZy with the ATS back in December. I think it was talked about in January, but Scrappy said, yeah, he was for sure using it. aBeZy then denied it, so we still don't really know what's true on that. What we do know is that SlasheR was taking the piss. He's been waiting for this one. Here he puts out the 007 James Bond theme, right, because Boston Breach became the first team in CDL history to go 0-7 in a qualifier stage. Obviously, we never had 7 maps or 7 series in a qualifier before now, but still, right, I mean, congratulations, Boston. They've managed to do it, and yeah, Vegas go to 2-5, still in losers, Boston still in losers, but yeah, 0-7, 007, whatever you want to say. The James Bond comes through, and SlasheR was waiting for that one. Kind of, you know, vindicates him, as they dropped him, and they clearly haven't improved. Beans has played well in his stead. I'd have kept Beans and SlasheR, probably, and got rid of Priestahh, but that might be controversial. Well, look at these numbers. 19,000 damage and 11, 12, 12. Like, what is actually going on here? He had 92 kills for the Lost Beans. Like, what more can this poor guy do? So, yeah, it's just they got with a search, can they? And even when they win one, they still lose. And maybe this is why Beans had some back issues, because this guy's been hard carrying for a very long time, it seems. The next series, this was actually arguably a bigger one, because it determines who gets winners, who gets losers. Carolina Royal Ravens, these guys were on the verge of winners bracket. If they won this series, they up against the Minnesota Rokkr. I felt like they were favored to do so, mainly because they're back in the same building together again. They're in the penthouse, the Brian State penthouse, whatever you want to say. Fellow gets a nice little 1v2 ninja defuse. Well, okay, 1v1 ninja defuse against Lins. But yeah, interesting game for Felony. Look, he's still struggling online, isn't he? But he's maybe getting there somewhat. I just think that this Ravens team is very different in person to where they are apart. They did lose the game one, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to get interesting. But they bounced back. Honestly, Rio Search and Destroy has been a good map lately for Ravens. They win this one 6-3. Stanley can't clutch it out. They then sweep through the control, no problem at all. And then they close out the game for relatively comfortably. Just look at this one as well, as we see Clayster on the far left-hand side. You guys can just about tell, fly off the map. We know the drama about, okay, it's not really drama, but it's a meme, isn't it? The Clayster falls off the map every single series that he's played. It really started back in Black Ops 3 especially, and it does seem like, sure, I think Stanley put some shots into Clay, but he does seem to just fly off the map here on the right-hand side. Not sure really how that happens, but yeah, Clay's done it again, and Rokkr go down a 3-1 defeat. That condemns them to the losers bracket. There's a good argument to say their previous team was better. Don't know what you guys think about this. They were getting roasted in the replies to this one as well. I think, you know, this one was pretty bad, to be honest, here from KSG. Poor Lamar catching strays, but, you know, maybe not really strays, just straight down the throat right now, because Gunless and Accuracy as an AR duo ain't really working well. And as Clay says, can you believe it? We're actually going to play on a Thursday. Thursday's the winners bracket day. You know, GG's Rokkr 1-3-1. It's sensational stuff. Here's Olive as well in the background. And it's definitely a different team, Ravens, when these guys are all together. And as Clay says, we're 6-2 when we're all together, 3-2 on LAN, and 3-0 online. Maybe we've figured it out. So nice to see that there's some optimism here for the Ravens. I still would have loved to see a world where Ravens turned up to their home event in Charlotte with the chance to make it to the World Championship and deliver the goods. But it's all to play for right now. But I think really you've got to look at the Minnesota Rokkr. 2-5 this stage, now starting in the losers bracket. They've made this move. Stanley did not have a good series today. He's still a naturally inconsistent player. Lynn's played a bit better today, but he's far from the superstar that played against Ravens way back in stage 1. Gunless has been better than Accuracy lately, but I just think, you know, both of those players are so similar. They both play kind of slow. Look, I don't think that keeping Awakening was necessarily a good idea, but is that team of Big Wake, Accuracy, Lins, and Vivid better than this team? I think I'd argue that it might well be, to be honest, and maybe Awakening would have got better with time, who knows, but I'm just not convinced that AR duo or the SMG duo makes sense. And I've said this before, but you're just never going to get both SMGs or both ARs playing well at the same time, because they're just such similar players. These scoreboards will happen all the time, and, well, Gwyn capitalizes with a 1.23, as you might well expect. And the final game of the day, Surge versus the Atlanta FaZe. This was more competitive than I thought that it might be, but FaZe handled business in the way that we have kind of got used to them doing. Honestly, there was maybe a brief time where it was possible this could have been a Los Angeles Guerrillas series up against FaZe during Major 2, of course, where they won in that crazy Game 5. But FaZe are just a bit too good. aBeZy and Cellium both went insane at Game 1. But Surge, like, given the fact that they got outslayed terribly here, they actually didn't play too bad. They kept it reasonably competitive, 250 to 175, and then they won the Search and Destroy. I think they went down a fair few rounds here. They started to bring it back. They handed FaZe their 4th map loss only this split, which is crazy for FaZe. But fair play, like, Surge are looking like, I wouldn't say they're going to beat the top teams necessarily. They've played OpTic, they've lost. They've played FaZe, they've lost. But they are making progress. I would have them in that dark horse conversation with Thieves. There's honestly not any other teams I'd even put in there right now on recent evidence. Maybe even Ravens, because they can put something together. Clay was shooting well as well, which was nice to see. He had a good series there. Look at the damage from Clay, 15,500. This is what the guy does. Inconsistent Clay, but when he's on, he's certainly on. But FaZe were never worried, really. I mean, they were shooting bodies still in their control. They went on to win this in 5. I mean, it was one of those control maps where it could have gone Surge's way if they'd have had the defense round 5. But, you know, we know how it goes. Winning offenses on Invasion is tough. And again, it's very painful to watch. I wish we'd have had something else in the map pool than Invasion, but unfortunately that ain't the case. Simp had a great map here. He's ridiculous on Invasion Control, by the way. His numbers every single time they play it are mesmerizing. And then the final game was very comfortable on the 6-star search. So FaZe is still looking very good across all the game modes. The Search and Destroy defeat to Surge will maybe raise some question marks, but FaZe is still going to be very comfortably the favourites going into the big one in Toronto. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. The red carpet was pretty ugly for Surge, but at the same time it wasn't. I don't think these numbers truly tell the picture of the series, but it still was very comfortable. And FaZe moved to 7-0, right? I made this point a few weeks ago now that I think this FaZe team either is better or very much could be better than the Cold War version of FaZe. And yeah, I'm going to stand by that until they don't win events anymore, because these guys are looking deadly. 21 in 4 map counts. Their records across the game are pretty ridiculous. They've won now 11 matches in a row, and it's hard to see that stopping with a clear #1 seed going into the major. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Much to discuss tomorrow morning. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.